Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, everybody. This is Joanne Victoria with another episode of the Sanity Project podcast. You are here to discover a life of clarity, confidence, sanity, and entrepreneurial success. Our guest today is Susan Rooks. After starting her own business in 1995 as a corporate trainer, Susan changed her direction in 2012, focusing primarily on editing, copy editing, working on a wide variety of nonfiction, and sometimes business-related documents. Knowing that many excellent writers have lost track of their early American grammar training, Susan, the grammar goddess, provides the knowledge of the rules, the wisdom to know when to break them, and the love for helping all authors look and sound as smart as they are, which is her motto, helping you look and sound as smart as you are. So tell us, Susan Rooks, how did you get here? How did you become an editor?
That's something that I've thought about quite a lot, Joanne. And by the way, thank you so much for asking me to be on the show. This is fun. I was a corporate trainer for probably 15, 17 years internationally. It got a little old. Traveling is hard, and this is before all the horrors. But about 10 years ago now, a friend, very good friend, Sandra Elaine Scott, said to me, "Hey, you know grammar. I wrote a book. Would you just look at it?" And I said, "What do you want me to do?" And she said, "Well, could you just make sure I didn't make any really bad mistakes in it? Leave out a comma or use the wrong word?" I went, "Well, yeah, of course I can do that." So I did. And it was a lovely book about her mother. And I never even gave it another thought, Joanne. Mm-hmm. Never thought about it. A year later, she comes to me and says, "Hey, you know what you did with my book? You edited it for me. And would you do my second book?" I don't think I heard the second part of what she said. What I heard was, "You edited it for me." I hadn't been, I just wasn't thinking that way. I was helping a friend. So I realized how much I enjoyed it. And she wrote 3 more books in the next 3 years. I began to mention somewhere on LinkedIn probably that I was doing a little bit of this. And all of a sudden I had clients who said, "Oh, we've known you for a while on LinkedIn. Would you take a look at what we're doing? I'd love to have you maybe look at it and tell me if I've made mistakes." Early days were tough because I didn't know what I didn't know, as most of us don't. But as I've gone along, I've learned a lot more about what I prefer to do, which is really business books or nonfiction. And I've learned that most authors are terrified of talking to an editor. Terrified. Because the word is out there that the editor is going to say, "Oh, no. This is the way you have to do it." And I realized I'd be pretty upset if someone said that to me.
I think they're mostly, were they talking about business books when they were saying that? Because I know that fiction writers have that where the editors take over. They just go in and rewrite the book. And of course, the authors always say, "Oh, thanks to my great editor," who they might want to shoot. But you are here because I know my guests have problems with editing. And everybody has problems with editing. There are very few people that I'm aware of. There's a couple off the top of my head who are authors and editors and of nonfiction. And they just, they're fine. But most people make so many mistakes because I know specifically because I have been asked to write a testimonial for a couple of authors. And when I read the book, I just want to call them up and say, you've got to fix this, because they have just, aside from the fact that there's just too much content, most people think that they have to put out 300 pages of nonfiction, and that's ridiculous. A good nonfiction book is great at 110, 150 pages, and they have added too much content, and then it's misspelled. and they don't have, apostrophes. I read this story today in the news how Papa John's, I don't know if you've read this, but they have a new logo because they're trying to get out of some drama that occurred this past 18 months. And they have redone the logo to say not Papa John's, John apostrophe S, but Papa John's, Johns. And people are trying to figure out, what are they trying to say? And I think that's what happens when there's incorrect grammar.
And it does. It's not that people are so smart about it. It's that sometimes when you're reading, you stop and think, what? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I understand what I'm seeing there. I'm pretty sure that it's mostly the fiction editors who might be in trouble, because a nonfiction book is generally a business sort of book. It's real. There's not a lot of things I can say, oh, you're making a mistake with that.
Right.
Most nonfiction is about things I've never heard of, Joanne, or I'm not really acquainted with deeply. And I have to trust that my authors know what they're writing about. It doesn't mean I don't go out on Google and say, is that the title of something, or is that someone's name? Because if I know it isn't, then I'll correct for it. But I enjoy it because I happen to like helping people edit books that have a structure. I can't explain it. I'm not a structured person. But when I'm doing the work, it's much easier for me to have a table of contents, chapters, headers, so I can help them better because I know where they're going with it. Fiction, I'm not wired to help someone plot something when it's going to go up, down, and sideways 18 times. I'm not good at that. And like you, I'll read a book and think, what on earth just happened on that page? Mm-hmm. How could a professional let this go through? And I'm sure I'm not perfect. I've let things go through, but not the kinds of things I see. And one other thing you mentioned, misspellings. Oh. It's actually usually more words like there, or it's. Those aren't even misspellings. They're misuse. Spell check won't help you there.
Nope.
Spell check knows nothing about what you intended. It only knows, did you spell it correctly?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with the two books that I'm mentioning that I read most recently are business books. Mm. And you should have, your flow at the end of the one chapter, you read into the next chapter. Oh, upcoming is XYZ. People don't have that, which is part of editing. And there's so many things, but they have too much fluff. And they're repeating things. Mostly who's repeating things is in this past year and a half, a lot of people have taken to fiction or have taken to adding on to their existing fiction. And they're writing books that they're not only repeating plots, God bless them, they're repeating content within the same document. And so there's no editing going on at all. Or if there is, everybody's still half asleep from 18 months ago. Is it 18 months, more or less? I think it's 20 months now.
I think it's 20, yeah.
20 months. And I just don't know what's going on. And I know that if I read something that is incorrectly edited or not edited at all, that reflects on the author. And I will have less safety and less respect for the author if I see they haven't paid the buck to have somebody edit their product.
Well, they might have had someone edit it. You run into a problem with, especially first-time authors, because they're not sure what's going to happen anyway. They're nervous about having anybody comment. They're expecting criticism, and that's not my style, Joanne. Mm-hmm. If I'm doing nonfiction, they're so much smarter in their world than I'll ever be, and I tell them that up front. My job is not to tell them they're wrong. It's to help them shine. And so sometimes I see a book and I think, I wonder how hard you fought against your editor or what the dynamic might have been. Because at the end of the day, it's not my book as an editor. It is absolutely the author's book. Only once in 10 years have I asked an author not to include me in the acknowledgments as the editor. Only once. Oh. Because it was something I wasn't proud of. I didn't think we together had done a really wonderful job, and I didn't want to be a part of it.
Right.
But normally, most business people that I've worked with are smart enough to have known. They know their topic. I know how to help them show it. And together we collaborate. And that's what I think might set me apart from some others. Not all others. That's not fair. But I don't try to push anything harder than the Oxford comma. I do make a big deal out of that. But other than that, it's not my book. So I'll give them my best ideas. I'll give them best practices. But at the end of the day, they have every right to say that's not how I want to do it. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Contextually, yes, I concur.
Yeah.
However, I was fortunate when I wrote my first book many moons ago that I had a book coach, and who was also somewhat of an editor because she had already written like 30 books. And she edited them herself, maybe with some outside help from time to time. And I got more insights than I thought was possible. And of course, I carried it over to my remaining books. But I still see I'll get stuck myself when I'm writing articles or blog posts, however we want to label those things today. Mm-hmm. Because I go through periods where I write a lot and then I edit a lot. And then I write a lot and I don't edit. And I have... in the middle of the night, I'll have a dream. Did I do that right there? Did I do that right there? And 9 times out of 10, I'll forgive myself because I'll say, that's the way it is. I'll go back and change it later. And if anybody has a problem, they'll let me know. But I think it so totally reflects on, not that I'm a perfectionist, but I'm a perfectionist. And I just think we have to represent ourselves well. And those of you who are listening must look over all of your writings and give them over to Susan Rooks just to have her review them. Even if she reviews them, you will see that you're making the same mistake over and over and over again. That's for darn sure. It's like the apostrophe S versus S apostrophe. People don't know what that looks like.
Fair. Yeah, it's fair that they don't know. Because they know what they know. They know their topic. They know their background. They know their skills. They know I've worked with PhD people. I have a bachelor's degree, for heaven's sakes. And it took me
we know
years.
We know the value of PhDs and MDs and all that stuff. So it doesn't they've taken the time to really research many times, gone deeply diving into a topic I know nothing about. So I honor the fact that I'm working with people who know stuff I didn't even know it existed half the time. What? Things that you find in the book, you mean?
Oh, yeah. I learn every time. And that's the other half of it for me is the learning. Learning about topics. I mean, I've heard of coaching, but there are so many ways to coach. I've heard of deep sea diving, but there are so many variations on those themes. I've never really thought about them. And there's no reason for me to. I'm not about to go deep sea diving. But for somebody who does and can show me what it's like, wow, on top of being paid to do it, I get to learn another skill. I learn about something else. I learn about people around the world. I do have international clients, which is fun with American grammar versus perhaps their own version. But I learn so much more than I would have ever thought as a little kid growing up, that this would be anything possible.
Before I go to this last part of your bio, what do you mean American grammar? Somebody's going to ask because they're going to say, hey, why did Joanne pass over that? And I try not to. So what is American grammar? What do you mean by that when you're dealing globally?
Yeah, we do. Well, number one, we spell differently. The basic, and I'm going to call it the British style, but it certainly encompasses many other countries on our planet. They will more often use single quotation marks around conversations. We always use doubles. No discussion on that. We use doubles before a conversation and when it finishes. We also, in America, for some reason, put periods and commas inside final quotation marks. No discussion. We simply do. Most other countries, if it's a whole sentence, they'll put it inside. If it's just a last few words that they quoted, they won't. That's okay. I'm fine with that. Spelling. We do OR. Most other British directional countries will do OUR, humor, labor, that sort of word. So there's a lot of information out there on these. And luckily, since I work with Canadian clients, I work with Australian clients, I have worked with a couple of folks in the UAE who decided to use American is simpler. Fine, good, thank you. I can go find the differences online and I can learn to handle that. It looks funny to my eyes. It really does. But American grammar is its own little narrowly sliced for many of these punctuation marks.
I personally don't like double quotes. I like single quotes, and I try to use single quotes all the time because I don't even know the purpose of having a double quote. I mean, it just looks like art. It doesn't look like anything other than that.
Got me laughing.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, I'm contrary by nature, but I like the single quotes. The OU, you can have it because that's disturbing if it's American. I mean, I read a lot of British mysteries, and of course, I have to see the OUs all the time.
And the S's for the Z's that we use and some other, conventions like that it's just different.
Yes.
Somebody says use American grammar, I say thank you. And if not, I say, okay, what do you use? Oh, I'm not sure.
And I hope my listeners, as I tell you all the time, once this episode is over, you have to re-listen to it with your pen and your pad because you have to take notes. Because I know you're not taking notes right now because you're listening because this is really important to you. So remember, re-listen to this podcast with your yellow pad and your pen, not just going on Microsoft Word and creating another document that, add to the piles. Because when you make notes, it goes from your brain, your hand to the brain, it sticks in there. There's a different way that things connect with you. So I'm looking at this Mastering the LinkedIn Profile Basics. Give us some insight to profile basics on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn to me has been the best thing that's happened in terms of building my business and connecting with people worldwide. I went on to LinkedIn in 2005. That's what LinkedIn tells me, October. I did nothing for about 8 years. I had no idea what to do. LinkedIn was new. I was new. I stumbled around, wrote a few things, did nothing. I got very, very lucky. John White, MBA. I put the MBA in because John White's a very common name. Saw something I wrote, brought me into a little group and said, I'm going to hire you to do some editing for me. Bless his heart. He told two friends who told two friends, yada, yada. But he told me very simply, here are the things you need to do to be seen in a positive way so that other people might want to talk to you about what you do. Oh, okay, fine. Write articles, write content, make sure you make comments, all positive, all that stuff. And so you come up to 2 years ago and I realized the profiles I'm looking at too many times aren't succeeding. They might not be a picture of the person. There might not be something at the very top, the header, that shows their company or their affiliation or something that draws us in. Joanne, there are something like 800 million profiles on LinkedIn.
Wow.
That's a big number. Now, maybe 2%, seriously, maybe 2% use it all the time, but that's still a lot of people. So I thought, you know what, Susan? You love training, you love teaching, you love helping, and you were helped by John. That's passive voice. John helped you. That's active voice. And why not pull together something that might be useful to other people who are struggling and saying, oh, LinkedIn doesn't work. I've tried it. It just, nothing happens. So I did. I put together a PowerPoint presentation. It's 1 hour. It's free to any civic or nonprofits, because I don't want to do charging money for those people. So if you have a civic group, you have a nonprofit, something like a chamber of commerce, or it could be any other kind of nonprofit, doesn't matter. I will do a 1 hour free PowerPoint presentation, and I cover the basics. I cover the visual of what people see when they look at a profile. Do they stay around long enough to say, oh, might want to know that person? Or they say, oh, please, move on, next person. And then I talk just a little bit about ways to augment that. I get an awful lot of solicitations from mostly men who
okay, now that sounds bad.
Who should not be writing what they're writing.
But you just said you get a lot of solicitations from men, and that's what I heard. But
I do. I get people say, "Hey, honey, hi, how are you? Can you be my new best friend?"
Oh,
I'm deadly serious.
Oh, yeah,
it's like instant. No, go away now. And I hear
mine goes to spam.
People,
I know.
Men and women, same thing. So I try to show folks in my 1 hour, the last 10 minutes or so, here are just a couple of things you really don't want to do if you want to be seen as a professional who's worth knowing and possibly worth hiring. And I love them.
Would you be willing to share those two little things with my podcast audience?
The two things you shouldn't do?
Correct.
Yeah. One is just send a message through LinkedIn and go, hello. Don't do that. Because it doesn't help you. It sets you up to say, well, what does she want from me anyway? The even worse one is what I see in the comments. Several times a day, I will see the 4 comments or the 6 if you have creator mode on. And they're all supposed to be talking to the author of the article that they're writing a comment on and saying something like, great article. I really liked what you wrote. But what they're saying is, here's what I do, come look at me, and they put a link to themselves.
Oh, yeah.
For all the comments that they put in there. I mean, 6 identical ones or 4 identical ones. And I look at it and I think, sweetie, you really missed the point of commenting here. And there's nobody who's going to be wanting to link to you because you're obviously all about you.
Yeah, it's when you compare. Actually, there's no comparison between Facebook and LinkedIn. But even on Facebook, they don't do that. I don't experience that as often as I see on LinkedIn, and I'm sort of shocked because it's like, LinkedIn thinks they're a higher class and a different species than people who are on Facebook. And I know people on Facebook say, come on down, look at me, blah blah. That's fine. But here it's repetitive. It's like every comment that they comment to, as you said, there's duplicate links and duplicate content. Hey, this is great, wonderful. I know something about that too. But it's like it's sleazy. That's my word for it. It's really sleazy.
It is sleazy
and rude.
And it just says that the person who's reading it isn't interested in it. This person is interested in himself or herself. I hate the word themselves when it's singular, because each of the comments is about the person commenting and it's coming back to them. And I don't like that at all. Commenting is the secret sauce because a lot of folks on LinkedIn are not going to be able or wanting to write articles or posts. They're just not going to do original content. That's fine. But commenting is a nice short way to do original content, but it has to be reflective of what the author of the article already wrote. So I could say, hey, Joanne, I loved what you wrote in the second paragraph about bapa-da-bapa-da-bapa-da-bapa-da-bapa-da. Thank you so much. I learned a lot from that. You read it and think, isn't that nice? And I look good. And I'm offering sincere praise, specific, sincere praise about what you wrote and not telling you, oh, look what I can do. Woo-hoo. No.
But then they see, whoever is reading it, they see your name and your title, the grammar goddess that you use on LinkedIn. So these things, people don't realize the importance of every word. I know I go crazy every boring time, like every 90 days I go, oh, let me change my LinkedIn, whatever, intro, whatever. And it's like, it hasn't changed. I think I get more attention from what I write than how I describe myself.
Yeah, people forget. I mean, when we're putting up our profile, you have your name and you have your picture, hopefully your own picture of yourself, hopefully. And then under it, the first few words will show up every time you comment. And it's like free advertising.
Absolutely.
If you do it correctly. Now, if you write your name and then you write about yourself, well, not going to work as well.
Well, I also have another pet peeve. Maybe some people do or don't. When when people want me to connect with me in a business situation, and they have pictures of themselves with their family or their babies or their this or that, I don't do it. I don't follow through because I think it's unprofessional. It's not the right place for that. To have an image of you and your little kitties at Christmas time, or just this is your flow through image. If this is about you and your business, man or woman, then do that.
Yeah, most of the time I agree with you. Every now and then, I've met somebody who deals with dogs. Okay, her and her dogs. It makes perfect sense because she deals with dogs.
Right. For those who are listening, I concur.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's like just for an everyday thing, I don't like that.
Yeah, this is a business platform. I think that gets lost in the shuffle occasionally.
It's not TikTok.
It's a shame. I'm not trying to be stiff and formal. I'm not saying you have to have a business suit and your tie has to be perfectly tied. It's just a sense of, would I want to work with you? My other pet peeve, people who are almost wearing the clothes that they have on their body.
Oh, well, I can't. We have that's another half hour.
Almost.
That's all over. Yeah, I'm tired of. I don't want to see men wearing Spanx. I don't want to see women with their boobs knocking out. I don't want it. That's, go to TikTok and stay there, or go someplace else. It's not the place for that.
And it's not even just the young ones. I've seen it all over.
Oh, yeah.
My only fear for them is that they're going to have people coming at them for, I hope, the wrong reasons. This is a business platform, and I'm hoping that most of us see, I don't want to be stiff, formal, and awful. I just do want to have a sense of safety that we're coming from mostly the same kind of idea. One of us might work with the other or for the other, and it's business. And I still want to be friendly. You know what I put out every day? I put out a funny meme every single darn morning. Friday, I put out my Friday Fun Day. I'm not stiff and formal. I love laughing.
Right.
I get the biggest kick out of myself sometimes. And even better, the people who comment on those memes, they take them in places I've never even thought of. They crack me up every single time because they're clever and they're funny and they're very warm and very, very nice. And every time I put one out, I say, I wonder who's going to do this today.
Right.
Wow. Can't wait to see what this person and that person writes. Also, my That's a Word series. I find funny words that I've never even seen before, couldn't identify, couldn't define. And then I sit back and wait because many of the words suggest things that aren't part of it. I can't wait to see who's going to say what. This is, to me, a joy, Joanne. This is one of the things that I think content creators miss, the engagement. It's so much fun to see what your audience sees that you weren't thinking of. And I just sit back and laugh myself sick.
Well, let's have other people laugh with you. And how can people find you, Susan?
Well, obviously they can go to my LinkedIn profile, which is literally Susan Rooks, the Grammar Goddess. And they can go to my website, which is grammargoddess.com. I also offer, if somebody's wondering if I would be of any help to them at all, or if they would need any help in terms of their writing, I offer a one-page free assessment. Now, I'm going to do it one time per person. And if you're going to write in size 6 font, please bulk it up a little bit.
Oh, God.
Well, I got to be very careful here. I would be more than happy to give you a quick assessment of what I see for something that you might not be aware of. And that's fine. Until we know, we don't know.
Well, that's what you've got, people. You've got Susan Rooks, the Grammar Goddess, grammargoddess.com. That's GRAMMAR Goddess, GODDESS.com. And she'll look at your document, make it at least a size 10, people, font, at least. I don't do anything less than a 12 anymore.
I don't either.
It's just, why should I effort myself and hurt my eyes? And it's been great having Susan Rooks here. She has a lot to offer people, especially who need some help in editing business books. So I want to say great today for having you here, and have a wonderful time, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.